Hi, welcome back to Knittings and Sewings, episode 7. Finally, it is April and we have spring. That's why I was able to gather some daffodils from my yard here and some lovely yellow and white daffodils. It's just gives you a whole different perspective on life once you have a little bit of sunny weather. And a beautiful day like today was just a real refreshing change after the long drudgery of March, as it has been. We've had really up and down, very cold and kind of odd weather. And so finally to be done with the rain and to actually see the sun again is just feels like a real miracle, which I guess it is. So anyway, so I'm already in a better frame of mind just with the change in weather. And Walter here has his Royals vest on today, his jersey. So he's all ready for baseball season. We just watched the first game of the season the other day on TV. And it was really fun, again, getting it back into a different frame of mind. So with that, I wanted to demonstrate the little scarf that you guys saw me working on a few weeks ago. This was on the table loom that I call Hutch, and if you recall, I'd had some struggle with warping it. I'm going to let Walter, if you let me show it here. This is the Tencel scarf that was with the hand-painted warp that my friend Ellen had wound for me, and it started off as a plain cream color or whitish kind of yarn that she had wound. And then she demonstrated, you smell it? She demonstrated to our weaving group, our weaving guild, the Arrow Rock Weavers Guild, how to go about hand painting it with Procyon dye. And I really enjoyed learning about that, and she guided us through it. And then I took that damp warp home, and then after it dried, I was able to warp it onto the loom. But it sat on my loom for quite a while, a year and a half. While I did other things. And then recently, as you know, I went back to that project, and it's just a plain weave scarf, very simple to do once you get it warped. And a lot of people hand paint their own, but you can also order them from indie dyers. You can order them for a scarf size or a shawl or whatever it is you want to make. And there are various, vendors and indie dyers that you can buy them from. And my friend Ellen, who I'm not affiliated with, but if you are interested in purchasing one of these hand-dyed scarves or shawl, that she can dye them for you. And again, you can get them from various indie dyers. But I know that for me, I enjoy the dyeing process when we do it as a guild, but I don't know that I would want to sit around hand dyeing my own scarves and shawls. Generally I would just as soon buy it already chained up. So you can purchase them if you are a weaver. And I will provide a link if you'd like to take a look at what Ellen has to offer on her website. Again, or there's many others that as well that you could take a look at. But I enjoyed this a lot. And I enjoyed the way it happened to pool and, show up on this scarf. It just was really delightful. And I enjoyed the process of weaving it in plain weave and seeing as the colors interacted and came up. And I used one weft thread, which was a curry, the color curry, which was kind of an orange, throughout the whole thing. So I just kept it pretty simple, and I enjoyed the outcome. How it turned out was really nice. And so, yeah, I would really recommend anybody that wants to try this type of hand-painted Tencel. Is a nice fabric, very soft to the skin, very squishy and comfy, and I really love it. And I will say with Tencel, it can be prone to wrinkling. So one thing that Ellen pointed out to me is that when you are, after you have blocked it, which is, washing it in your sink, hand washing it, after you've taken it off the loom, it is a good idea to like get it damp and then iron it gently before you let it totally dry, because ironing it can be subject to getting a little bit of wrinkles. But if you do it as it's just damp, if you do iron it, it gets out all the wrinkles. And of course you can always iron it anytime you want. But for me, doing that initial pressing did help keep a lot of the wrinkling out and makes it less prone to wrinkling, I think, till the next time you wash it. So I really do think that's a good tip if any of you are working with Tencel. And Tencel can be subject to breakage if you have a very wide project. And so sometimes having a floating selvage can be helpful, and just knowing that Tencel is prone to some breakage if you're not careful. You don't have the tension maybe quite as high as you would with other forms of fiber. So I really enjoyed this project. Next up, I've been spinning a little bit, not as much as I would like, but this is my VanGough yarn, I call it, because I had gotten the Paradise Fiber box that you subscribe to. I no longer subscribe to it because I was having trouble keeping up with the boxes, but I really enjoyed this. This was from, I think, the December kit, and it came with this beautiful, it's shades of midnight blue, light blue, and sparks of yellow. And they used the painting Starry Starry Night as inspiration for this fiber box, and I really enjoyed it. It's merino, that's what I thought it was. I was just checking. It's merino yarn, which is very soft and nice. And I kept it, the colorway, intact by doing a chain ply. So it ends up being a 3-ply, but when you do a chain ply, it really does help to keep the colors together, so you don't end up with all the colors globbed together. So you don't end up with the green, you end up with a distinct yellow and light blue and dark blue, as it was in the fiber box. So I really like the way this turned out. And I will be using this yarn and a couple other skeins I'm making for weft on a project I've already started, winding the warp for a vest. I've decided I'm going to weave it up, and then probably in plain weave, and then turn it into a vest. I don't yet know which sewing pattern I'm going to use for that, but I will be doing that soon, because I do have it partially, 3 chains out of the 4 are finished in the winding the warp, and I've started threading some of those chains through the slots. So there's, it's going to be on the loom soon here, and hopefully I will have some fabric soon to be taking a look at, and I think this will be really pretty. And hopefully that yellow, those little sparks of yellow, will still be there when I combine it with the blues that I have wound for the warp. So we'll see on that. Stay tuned for that. One thing that I have been really drawn to in the last few weeks, I've been working on my Pinguono sweater, as many of you know, the jacket that I had started that is designed by Stephen West. I'm not showing it today because honestly, I haven't made nearly as much progress as I would like to report, but unfortunately, I ran into a big snafu on the sleeves. I had been actually sleeve, not sleeves, plural. The left part of the jacket I'm almost finished with. I've gotten about halfway down the sleeve now, but I had to rip it out, what I originally had, because I wasn't following the sleeve instructions correctly. And one thing that Stephen West has is excellent instructions, and he even has videos sometimes linking a little that you can click on the link and see how to do a certain technique. But I did not pay attention closely to the sleeve. I thought that I'd just pick up all the way around and start knitting and then decrease, but as I started looking at it more closely after it wasn't working out, I realized that I wasn't following the instruction. He has a unique way of doing this particular sleeve. So now that I have ripped that out and restarted it once again, I think it will work out much better. But that project is getting big and bulky enough that, I'm not working on it nearly as much as I would like to make real progress. So unfortunately, because of that, I've been sitting in front of my computer watching YouTubes a lot lately as I work on it. And one thing that has really been drawing me a lot is crochet. I've been watching a lot of crochet videos and tutorials and in different kinds of crochet channels. And so I've been just fighting myself, avoiding to get my hook out and start crocheting a shawl, which is what seems really fun to me right now. I even pulled out this week the shawl I crocheted last spring, which is called the Peacock Pineapple shawl. And two of my other friends and I were going to each crochet one of these and then wear it to a fiber event that we were going to together. And at the last minute I was unable to go. So, but this is how mine turned out. I like the basic shawl itself. It is a little bit on the smaller side to what I usually like to wear. But I liked doing the motifs themselves, and I enjoyed working on it. I just wished there had been a better way to increase the width and the breadth of the shawl. I felt I wanted a little bit larger than it turned out. And because the way the motifs are at the bottom there, the pineapples, I couldn't easily figure out a way to enlarge it. You couldn't just keep doing more repeats like you can on a lot of shawls. So that's the one critique I would have of the pattern is if anyone does know how to expand this type of thing, then let me know, because I know that I have read on Ravelry some people did manage to make it larger, but I'm not exactly sure how they did that. So I'll have a link to the pattern, and I will probably be wearing this summer to the fiber event that we're all going to, and you know, the other two people will be wearing theirs as well. So I did like how it turned out, and again, I'm having a hankering to get my hooks out and start working on another one for this spring, but I'm keeping myself from doing that until I get a little bit further along with some of the projects I already am working on. So I'm trying to use a little bit of self-discipline, but you know how that goes in the spring. My attention is like a butterfly. It makes me want to fly off in all different directions. So that is one thing, though, that I will be wearing this summer when I go to that fiber event. And one of the podcasts that I've been very drawn to, one of the new channels, is one by a lady named Brenda, who goes by the Poncho Lady 10, I think it is, and I'll provide a link. But she is a crocheter who just does crochet, but does it beautifully, and she makes a lot of shawls and ponchos, and thus her name, Poncho Lady. The way she puts together just yarn of all different weights and colors and textures, and somehow makes them coming out looking phenomenal, is just astounding to me. And her whole podcasting style is so charming and comfortable, and feels like you're just sitting there chatting with a friend, and she's sharing her projects with you. And I told several of my friends as I was watching it the last couple of weeks, I've been really like immersing myself in her different podcasts, and I just kind of have admittedly had Brenda envy, because she does such a beautiful job, and I love her color combinations and just love her whole podcast. So if you get a chance, go take a look at her videos. I think you'll really like them. And just seeing how she combines yarn gives you ideas for doing that are just really talented. And I think part of doing the Penguono project has reminded me how important it is as you're combining different yarns, because I've had to rip out some whole sections where the colors didn't exactly gel the way I wanted them to, or the texture wasn't exactly right. So in doing that project, it is a modular knitted project, and having the color combinations and the yarn combinations is so critical in that project. And it just had me admiring her all the more, knowing how she just is so natural and at ease in doing these different combinations. So she's worth studying, even if you're not a crocheter, to see how she puts those things together. Well, that's all I have for right now. I will be back hopefully soon with some more progress on all the projects we've been talking about. So until I see you next time, love what you're making and wear what you make. Bye now.